If you've ever seen a massive ship out of the water, you may have noticed something strange. The bottom is almost always red. Not blue, not black, not gray. Red. And once you notice it, you start seeing it everywhere. Cargo ships, cruise ships, naval ships, all with that same dark red color below the waterline. So why? Is it for visibility? Warning? Style? Not even close. The real reason is far more important. Because the bottom of a ship is constantly under attack. Not from waves, from life. The ocean might look empty from above, but underwater it's full of organisms trying to attach themselves to anything they can find. Algae, barnacles, mussels, tiny marine creatures. And once they stick to a ship, they spread fast. Now, at first, that might not sound like a big deal. Who cares if a few barnacles attach to the bottom? But here's the problem. Ships are designed to move through water as smoothly as possible. And the moment the hull becomes rough, everything changes. Even a thin layer of marine growth creates drag, which means the engines have to work harder. And harder engines mean more fuel. A lot more fuel. In fact, heavy barnacle buildup can increase fuel consumption dramatically. And for giant cargo ships crossing oceans every day, that becomes extremely expensive. We're talking millions of dollars. So ships need protection. And that's where the red paint comes in. But here's the strange part. The color itself isn't actually the important thing. It's what's inside the paint. Historically, ship bottoms were coated with special anti-fouling paints containing copper compounds. And copper is toxic to many marine organisms. So when tiny creatures tried attaching themselves to the hull, the coating made it harder for them to survive, which slowed down buildup. And many of those copper-based paints naturally had a reddish color. That's why the bottoms of ships became associated with red. Over time, it simply became standard. Now, modern ships use more advanced coatings. Some are smoother. Some slowly release chemicals. Some are designed to make it physically difficult for organisms to stick at all. But many ships still keep the traditional red appearance, partly because it became industry habit, and partly because people now expect ships to look that way. But marine growth isn't the only problem. Salt water is also extremely corrosive, especially to steel. So the lower part of the ship needs extra layers of protection against rust and chemical damage too. Which means that red section is doing multiple jobs at once. Reducing marine buildup, protecting the metal, helping fuel efficiency. And all of that affects something surprisingly important, speed. Because when a ship's hull becomes covered in organisms, it moves less efficiently through water. That slows the ship down. And when global shipping runs on tight schedules, even small speed losses matter. Now here's the crazy part. A ship's hull can start collecting marine life incredibly quickly, sometimes within weeks. That's why ships regularly go into dry dock for cleaning and repainting. And when they do, the underside often looks almost unrecognizable, covered in layers of buildup, scratches, corrosion, and damage from years in the ocean. Which is strange to think about, because from above the waterline, ships usually look calm and clean. But underneath, there's an invisible battle constantly happening. Between steel, salt water, and millions of tiny living organisms trying to take over the hull. So no, ships aren't painted red for decoration. That red section exists because the ocean is constantly trying to slow ships down. And without those protective coatings, modern global shipping would become dramatically less efficient. Which means one of the most recognizable parts of a ship actually exists because of barnacles.